Good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you're joining us from. Thank you so much for joining us. I will give our colleagues just about 3 to 5 minutes to join the webinar, and then we can kick it off. But we're really glad you've been able to join us. Kindly share with us through the chat function your name, your organization, and where you're joining us from so that we can get a feel of who's in the room. We will be going into introductions in a short while, but the Dignitas team is happy to have you in the webinar. Thank you so much for joining. So just on the chat box, your name, your organization, and where you're listening in from, or where you're joining from. Just some housekeeping. We will be requesting all of us to go on mute for the duration of the webinar. And we will also request for your consent to have this recorded so that we can have it for posterity. And we hope to keep it to the top of 1 hour. And so without wasting any more time, a very, very warm welcome from the Dignitas team, who I will allow to just briefly turn on their cameras to introduce themselves, the team that is behind organizing the webinar, and who are really my co-moderators in the background. So I'll ask Julius, Selena, Marita to just open their cameras and wave to the audience, just so that we are aware that we have a big team supporting the moderator of the day. And once that happens, we can then dive right in.
My name is Marita. I am a digital program officer at Dignitas. I mainly support with our e-learning platform. Over to Celine.
Hi, everybody. My name is Selena Sumba, and I'm the Communications and Community Coordinator at Dignitas. And I'm very happy to be here. And also, thank you for joining in.
Thank you, Selena. Julius?
Hi, everyone. Karibuni sana. My name is Julius Mureithi, the Evidence and Communications Manager here at Dignitas. So excited to learn today from our panel and even from you, from your questions, your comments, your feedback, all that. So come ready also to learn. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. And Victoria will be the final team member from Dignitas to introduce themselves at this time. Victoria?
Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Defesa. So happy to have you all back.
So my name is Juno Mune. I am the Grants and Partnerships Manager at Dignitas, and I'm very honored and privileged to be moderating this webinar today. But most importantly, I'm really excited to just hear what we will all share and listen to our teachers, our community, as we talk about teacher professional development in low resource communities. How do we maximize limited resources to become a star teacher? And just to take us through what the 1 hour is going to be like, our main objective is that we hope that we'll be able to share experiences and strategies with you so that we're able to maximize our own potential and that of our students in whichever spaces we work. We are also hoping to go through this agenda in the next 1 hour. So we will have an introduction to Dignitas by the very able Faith Mbushi. We will then go into our panel discussions. I will be introducing our very distinguished panelists when the time comes. And so we are looking at talking in broadly 2 thematic areas: the challenges of teaching in low-resource communities, and then we will go into innovative, low-cost teacher professional development approaches, mainly coaching and communities of practice. So we'll get to listen to the people on the ground tell us how this is actually making them star teachers. How is it working in their own context? We will then have a very brief question and answer session, which will be led by Selena Sumba and Victoria Adembesa. And then we will finally have closing remarks from Steve Karithi, who's the interim CEO at Dignitas. Throughout the webinar, I will kindly request that we engage on the chat box, throw in all your questions, your insights, your perspectives, and we'll be happy to address them there and also through to the Q&A session later on in the meeting. So thank you so much. And we are very, very glad you're able to join us, all 100 of us strong. And hopefully we get to take a screenshot of this, because I think this is really exciting that we have such a huge number of rich insights, people with experience in the room. So just to give a little bit of context why we thought this would have been a very useful conversation for us to have, Particularly in Kenya, we have very worrying levels of learning poverty. Less than 50% of grade 4 learners are able to perform simple literacy and numeracy tasks at the expected level. And for children in marginalized communities, the low-cost communities that we're talking about in the webinar, this is even worse. Only 33% of children in rural areas in Kenya, for example, aged 10, are meeting expectations in grade 3 literacy and numeracy. And why is this an issue? Because children go to classrooms with teachers. And so effective teaching practice really builds a foundation for children to become good communicators and critical thinkers. Yet classroom practice in Kenya is lagging behind in education reforms. And so speaking more broadly as well, the shift to the competency-based curriculum has created a very huge demand for the continuous capacity building of teachers and school management. And so I think just this to paint a picture of why we believe we need to have more conversations around the topic of teacher professional development, and particularly in low resource settings. And so I hope that you will walk the journey with us as we listen to the experience within the room. So at this point, I would like to take a pause and invite Faith Bushi to give us a short introduction of Dignitas before we dive right into the panel discussions. Over to you, Faith.
Thank you, June. Please allow me to share my screen. As June does that, good afternoon to you all. I hope you can hear me. June, please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. Good afternoon to you all. We are very excited that you have decided to spend the next hour with us. Among us today, we have alumni teachers, we have school leaders, we have partners and other stakeholders all over the world. We are very excited that you have decided to spend this afternoon with us. For those of us in Kenya, we hope you and your loved ones are well, considering what's happening in our country today and in this season. So I'm very excited to be presenting to you what Dignitas is, what we're about. And June, please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see the screen. I'll kindly request our audience to just show a thumbs up if you're able to both hear Faith and see the screen.
All
just
right.
give us a thumbs up on the chat box or using the reactions. Thank you. Back to you, Faith.
Excellent. So Dignitas is what we like to call an award-winning education development organization. And our vision is really creating vibrant schools. And by vibrant, we mean places where learners are safe, where they're happy, they love to learn, they look forward to coming to school, and teachers are well-trained. They know what they're supposed to be doing, they love their job, and they also look forward to coming to school. The school leaders as well, this is a place where they love leading here, they love managing this space, and this is our idea of a vibrant schools. And we believe when a school is vibrant, then we have children who are thriving, children who have the character that is required for them to strive. They're building their skills, they're building their values. And this is really our vision as Dignitas. So we imagine a world where, as I said, children are developing their skills, they have the strength of character, and they are succeeding. And how do we do this? So we do this through very innovative training and coaching approaches, which I will talk about. And our aim is really to empower the educators, the education workforce in these settings and in marginalized opportunities for them, and education then can make sense. So at Dignitas, we believe that when teachers are well supported, when school leaders, and by school leaders we mean the head teacher, the principals, is another name that head teachers are called, the deputy head teachers, heads of department, other leaders in the school, they are well supported, then they have the power to transform the schools where they work. And this ensures the vibrant places that we want to see. Again, we also believe that when this happens, then with the right training, with the right support, these school leaders and teachers can actually be the agents of change. As we all know, I imagine we're all here because we have an interest in the education sector, and we know the challenges that we face, but also the opportunities that are there, when we have the right training, when everyone has the right support. So these people, when they're well supported, can be the agents of change for all the things that we want to see in these spaces. So allow us to tell you a little bit about how we do that. So we strengthen these educators through 3 ways. So one is instructional leadership, and this, we believe that there is so much value in equipping the leader of the school, who's then able to support the teacher, and the teacher is then able to practice some things in the classroom level, and there's improvements in learner outcome. The teacher as well, in terms of learner engagement, they're able to engage the learners, they're able to implement some behavioral management skills, and they have a growth mindset, and they're able to bring alongside the learner in the teaching process, as well as the culture. Evidence shows that when there's a good school culture or classroom culture, learning improves. So these 3 are our key areas or domains of focus: instructional leadership, learner engagement, school and classroom culture. And when these are given priority, we believe that any curriculum is successfully implemented. We'll see improvements in classroom leadership practice that strengthen teaching and learning. And then ultimately, our goal really is to see improvements in learner outcomes. So now, how do we drive transformation in schools with our partners? So our model comprises of what we call leadership academies and professional development workshops. So all those are a very nice sounding words to say that we do in-person trainings. Again, what we say in Dignitas is that we believe that the transfer of knowledge in this training is only the beginning. But once we've done these trainings, then, coaching or the support that is individualized, that it's data-driven, is what supports the shift in practice. So once there's knowledge gain, but we want to see these classroom practices changing. So what we say here at Dignitas is that these workshops, the difference is that the Leadership Academy, it focuses on introduction, say, of a new content to the school leaders and the teachers. Well, the professional development is the areas where, now that they have this knowledge, what are the gaps that we are seeing as we are coaching them? What are we building up? What knowledge are we building up based on the skills and content covered in the leadership academies? And again, as I say, coaching is individualized. So a coach will go into each of the teachers' classrooms to observe, to give some reflection. It's reflective in nature. And we ensure that all these trainings are, data-driven as well. Professional learning communities are a way that we build sustainability of what we've been doing in a school over a year. So we want to ensure that in any particular school, there's a learning culture that is being built. The teachers that are not part of the program are also getting some of these learnings from their fellow teachers. And this culture continues even way past when the program ends, when we've left the school at the end of a year. And then we have this model that we call alumni association. And this is when I believe a lot of you here are teachers join the Dignitas Alumni Learning Network. And this is to sustain, again, the program impact within the schools, within the communities, beyond the partnerships. So this helps our teachers connect to the educators. They develop learning, growth, their communities of practice as well. And we extend this impact through peer-to-peer support of new cohorts and other models of school training. So how do we know that what we do works? So we did some 2 studies, one in 2017 and one in 2021. And this was done by external evaluators. And it showed that the learners who were in a Dignitas trained classroom experienced 44% knowledge gain in the course of a lesson compared to 15% of non-Dignitas classrooms. And then when we did another study in 2021, again conducted by an external evaluator, it did show that our programs showed that learners in a Dignitas partner school demonstrated this, what we call gains or improvements in numeracy, in math and 21st century skills, which are our core skills in CBC. And these learners in our programs had 3 times more competencies than their peers in other schools that were not training under us. So all that to say, we have tested this, and we know that when we focus on equipping the teachers, when we focus on, supporting the school leaders, there are some improvements that are gained at the and as you can see there, those are all our existing partners. Some are government partners, some are non-government partners, and a lot of collective coalitions of educational organizations that we work with. So that's who we are. Again, reminding you what our vision is, that we believe I want to achieve a vision where every school that we go to becomes a vibrant place for children, that they love to learn, they love their teachers, they love to go to school, as well as the teachers enjoy teaching, and the school leaders also have the support they need to ensure that this learning and this environment is vibrant, and they're gaining the skills and strength of character to succeed and thrive. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm happy to hear if you have any questions for me about Dignitas. You can reach me or June on that email, but at this point, I will hand it back to you, June.
Yes, thank you so much. I kindly request that you mute your microphones so that we will have very limited interruptions as we proceed with the webinar. Also, let us know if you're not able to hear. Just give me a thumbs up if the speakers are still audible. Can you hear me? And if you're experiencing audio issues, kindly leave the call and rejoin, and make sure to join with audio so that we'll be able to connect with us as we proceed. So just before we go into, thank you so much for the thumbs up. Thank you so much. So just before we go into the panel discussions, I'd like to invite us to participate in a poll. So my colleague is going to share a Zoom poll right now, and we just want you to tell us, think back to when you were in school and to think about 1 or 2 of your favorite teachers. And please let us know using one word, just one word only, how your favorite teacher made you feel when you were in school. Violet, I see your hand is raised. Please pop your question in the chat box and we'll be able to address them during the Q&A. And I encourage the rest of us to do so as well. But right now, please go to the poll. Julius, Selena, are we ready? Just let us know, who was your favorite teacher? Tell us that one word. How did they make you feel before we go into introducing the panelists? And I can see some accolades for Faith. Thank you very much for that. As you share how your favorite teacher made you feel. Just one word, please. Can we all see the poll? Great, I can see the answers coming in. Wonderful. Thank you so, so much. Make sure you get your answer in. We just have a few seconds left so that we can then introduce our distinguished panelists. Great. Thank you so much for participating. And I'm just giving an extra 30 seconds for this, then we can introduce the panelists. I hope I'm still audible. Please let me know if you're not able to hear me, but I can see lots of thumbs up on the chat box. So that means we are audible. Great, great, great. Can you hear me now? I felt appreciated, recognized, ambitious. They're a role model, loved, happy. These are all very wonderful things to hear. And so as we go into the next session, I just want us to frame our mind in the mind of a favorite teacher. And as we go through the panel discussions, just reflect a bit on what is being said. What are you hearing that is making you attribute or pick some attributes of a favorite teacher? And so I'm extremely excited to introduce our panelists for the day. And I will start with introducing Teacher Juliet, or giving Teacher Juliet an opportunity to introduce herself. And I always call myself Alana in chief. And so the people I respect in my life, it is teachers. And I always sort of like by default call them Teacher Juliet, Teacher so and so. And so I'll allow Teacher Juliet to quickly introduce herself in 1 minute. Just please turn on the camera and introduce yourself in less than a minute for the participants.
So hi guys, it's exciting to be here and to be part of this conversation. My name is Juliet. I am a teacher at Farm Foundation Academy in Mwiki. I really do love teaching. I've been at it for about 4 years. And it's, one of those things we all agree a call. And I love to do it, especially on this foundational level, primary school and the early years. And I really just believe that learners given an equal opportunity to and a safe space to be the best that they can be. Thank you very much. Looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you very much, Teacher Juliet, and I'll hand it now to Teacher Nicholas to also introduce himself. Just please turn on your camera and introduce yourself in less than a minute.
All right. June, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can, but maybe try and be a little bit more audible for the benefit of the audience.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicholas Odhiambo, and I'm honored to be here today as a panelist. I am a teacher by profession, and currently I serve as the head teacher of Mseto Junior School, and Mseto is located in Dagoretti sub-county. Of course, I bring in 15 years of experience as a teacher. And of course, within the 15 years, I've had the privilege of working with students and educators, and I've seen a transformative power of education. And of course, in today's discussion, I look forward to a great and a beneficial discussion to all.
Wonderful. I'll move on to Madam Naomi. Please introduce yourself in 30 seconds so that we can go into the exciting conversation we want to have. Please tell us who you are, where you work, and what excites you about your job in less than a minute. Madam Naomi, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, June. Hi, everyone. My name is Naomi Kuria, working with Teacher Service Commission as a curriculum support officer. This day, I'm excited to be one of the panelists, and I'm happy to be considered as a speaker this evening. What I love most about my job is seeing the young ones, the young souls get the right content. They're able to be happy in school, and this is given by the teacher. The teacher makes the learners comfortable at the school.
We can't hear you.
Great. Please speak a little bit louder so that we'll be able to hear you, Madam Naomi.
Oh, sorry. I'm Naomi Kuria, working for the TSC as curriculum support officer. We support teachers in the field, and I'm glad to be in this program. I'm glad to be associated with Dignitas because of what the support they've been giving us as field officers. Thank you so much.
And in the next round, Madam Naomi, please speak closer to the microphone so that our audience will hear you better. My final panelist is Mr. Simon, who I will give exactly 20 seconds to introduce themselves.
What a privilege. My name is Coach Simon Kwambo. I work with Dignitas. It's always humbling to talk to educationists, people who ensure that our children and generation is liberated. As it says that education is a tool to liberate people's mind. so that we can have a better future. So what a privilege to have this conversation with the people of Great Mind. Yeah, thank you, John, and thank you everyone for having me here.
Wonderful. And so we'll dive right in, and I would want to start with Teacher Juliet. We're talking about teacher professional development in low resource communities. You are, so to speak, the frontline worker in the education space. And so in your experience, what are some of those persistent challenges that you come across in your line of work? Just share one or two examples to kick us off.
All right. One very obvious and very glaring challenge that we get is the lack of resources are needed for learning. And this could actually just make learning either impossible or really inhibit learning. The other challenge that I see a lot is lack of the continuous teacher development. So someone studied 15 years ago, and the last training they ever had 15 years before they started. So
I'll
sometimes,
kindly request Bonches to mute, and for the rest of our participants also please mute, so that we'll be able to hear our panelists more clearly. Thank you. Sorry, Juliet, and back to you as
thank you. Yeah, so those two, unavailability of resources and lack of teacher development, professional development. Yeah, those are two very big challenges.
Great. And so speaking of those challenges, Mr. Nicholas, what do you think the role of a head teacher or a deputy head teacher is in sort of like addressing those challenges at school level in low resource communities? Mr. Nicholas, are you with us? Mr. Nicholas? All right, well, we will give him some time to come back on the webinar. I'll send this to Madam Naomi. You are working within the system, within the education system, as it were. Please share with us very briefly your perspective to the challenges that Teacher Juliet has alluded to.
Thank you.
Please move a little bit closer to your mic so that we'll be able to get your insight.
Thank you so much, John. Just like my colleague has said, ours mostly is to support the teachers to make teaching and learning resources. Where they are not available, we advise them on how to improvise those resources, especially now with CBC, where most of the resources are not available for the learners. So it's our work as curriculum support officers to guide them on how to improvise the ones that are not available. We also look at the interpretation of curriculum to make sure that the
Madam Naomi? Are you still with us? Going offline for just a few minutes, but Simon, picking up from where Madam Naomi has left off, what has been your experience in terms of using innovative approaches to teacher professional development in addressing the challenges that Teacher Juliet has correctly framed for the discussion today? Simon?
Thank you. It was really interesting to hear Teacher Juliet's, you could even hear the passion that she is really ready to teach and change, the life of young people. But there are numerous challenges ranging from the materials, from the capacity even to get to the institution of higher education and build her capacity. So as an educationist and more specifically a system actor, my role is simple: to be able to help Juliet and many other teachers out here to be able to understand the impact that they bring on board by just looking at the resources that are within them. So first of all, the biggest resource is them as teachers. How do they see their impact? So this is all around how they look even at their work more specifically. How do they relate to the teachers? How do they even incorporate, parents into the education? Right now, we're talking about the CBC. And it's a collaborative kind of education system. How do they see parents as other resources who can help them to address some of these challenges? But more specifically on teacher professional development, which is a necessity to any profession, my work as a coach and a system actor is simple: to be able to listen more to Juliet and many other teachers out here who know what exactly they would wish to be, to become a star teacher. Is it about the professional development by just going to a very sophisticated school, or they can use the resources around them like the other teachers? How are they exploring even the capacities and experience of other teachers? So we bring in a very unique model as dignitars, or we call it coaching, where we listen more to what is the gaps that are there. So we look at their gaps in terms of skills, in terms of attitude, in terms of knowledge, so that we come in with a very targeted kind of intervention that will be able to help teachers, Juliet, and many other more. So listening, I have talked about listening, coming up with the data that will help them to understand about their learners, are also coming up with goals that will be able to support them as they continue to implement the curriculum. And remember, I have talked about the gaps that are there. For example, if it's a knowledge gap or the skill gap, are they able to interpret the curriculum appropriately? Because all of us, truth be told, we are implementing the policy from the Ministry of Education. So how do teachers understand the curriculum itself? So my role as a system actor is to be able to help Teacher Juliet and many more to be able to interpret the curriculum and how it is going to be implemented at school level effectively. Apart from the curriculum, interpretation and also implementation, now we look at that's a knowledge gap or a skill gap. How about the attitude? Do they know their impact? Do they know their role? How do they relate to the other teachers? How do they relate to the parent? So we come into the very also unique way of supporting such kind of teachers by training them on their mindset so that they have a growth mindset. And I'm glad she talked about continuous teacher professional development. And some of it comes by attitude. Do you want to continue learning from the rest, learning from even going to school and learn to equip yourself because you understand your impact? So that's how I'm addressing, or we are addressing, such kind of challenges about materials and resources in such kind of, schools, among other interventions that we'll be speaking into. Yeah.
Great. And just to circle back to Madam Naomi, just really thinking around the work of a curriculum support officer and how that looks like in low resource settings. What are some of the actions that happen within, like in the course of your duties, that then supports teachers in terms of their professional growth, so they're able to be innovative in classrooms? Madam Naomi, sorry.
Thank you, Madam June.
And please move closer to the mic so that we'll be able to get you clearly.
Thank you, Madam June. As a curriculum support officer, mostly we do advise on the best resources to use, especially in the marginalized areas, both for public and private schools. And for the teacher development, we do lesson observation.
Raise your voice.
We do lesson observation, and then we advise the teachers accordingly in terms of pedagogy and also in terms of curriculum delivery. So our main role mostly is to support the teachers as they deliver the curriculum or they deliver what is required of them. So when you do the lesson observation, you're able to critique the lesson and help the teacher grow professionally.
Great, thank you so much. And so I like what you said about not criticizing, but critiquing the teacher so they're able to carry out better lesson delivery. And so Teacher Juliet, please share your experience with us around what aspects of teacher professional development in your experience have been helpful in supporting you to be innovative in your classroom and even with your peers within your school?
One of the things I must mention is last year I went through the Leadership Academy through Dignitas. And that really made an impact in my professional development, and hence the professional development of even the teachers in my school that were not in the program. We got to learn a lot of things. I remember one of the earliest lessons was on mindset change, and we realized that there's a lot more to learn and there is a lot of room to grow, which was really amazing because as a teacher, the notion is that you know everything. Yeah. And just coming to the realization that there's so much more that we can take on, especially with the changing aspects of a CBC, was amazing. One, two, we learned a lot of things in terms of we had a lot of valuable lessons in terms of maximizing the resources around us, to make sure that we are giving as quality education as possible, learning a lot of improvisation, innovation, to just use low cost or no cost material around us. The other thing we really learned is to learn from each other as teachers, because we each bring something on board. So we have learned to do that through professional learning communities. So we have these meetings in school where we touch on different aspects of matters that directly touch on the learners. And because of that, we keep on improving ourselves, and we keep on getting up to date with what we are supposed to be doing and having. So I'm really grateful to Dignitas for the opportunity to actually get better professionally, to develop myself professionally. And as such, we've been able to cascade this knowledge down to our teachers in school, and we've been able to really grow together and get better over time.
Great, Lisa. Nicholas, over to you.
Thank you, June. I don't know if you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Sorry, I fell off quickly. To create a supportive environment, one, it's important to foster open communication. I would really wish that we encourage open and honest communication between teachers and leadership to be able to address concerns and share ideas. Number two, we should be able to recognize and celebrate achievements. Acknowledge the hard work and successes of the teachers. This will really boost morale and motivate them. And number three, we should be able to provide continuous support. If we offer ongoing support and resources, we will help teachers to overcome challenges, and we will be able to see continued professional growth. And of course, we all need to encourage innovation. June.
Thank you so much. So I'll take it to Simon. When Mr. Nicholas alludes to the fact that we have to celebrate teachers' achievements and recognize it, and we have to provide continuous support, what kind of support do you as a coach provide, and how have you seen that evolve the relationship that you have with school leaders, and how has it been able to impact learners? So that, for instance, on the chat box, I can see something about an issue with lesson observations. How does coaching help with that? Because someone says a number of teachers don't like it when they're being observed, especially at school level. So how has your approach been able to successfully address such an issue in very practical terms? Very briefly, Simon.
Yeah, I will start with just this last segment you had. You talked about a teacher who do not like doing lesson plan. And the question will be, why would they not like it? Yet is a requirement professionally. I'll give it an example. This afternoon, I had a conversation with a colleague. I was just sharing about eating habit. And she told me to just look, sometimes just relax when I'm eating and start appreciating the process of even getting the food to the table. How is the farmer, the process of farming, getting the food from the farm to the market, and now is the kitchen, you're preparing the meals up to the table until the time you are eating. Look at the entire process. You're now enjoying the meal. So just appreciating that process alone, it makes you even enjoy and appreciate that meal on the table. So my work as a coach to the teachers, more specifically to change their mindset, as I spoke about, is to be able to look at, do they appreciate what they are doing? Do they look at their work as work as an agent of change, that these children, after a year in their hands, after 2 years, maybe 8 years of a course in a school, there will be these people who are changing the generation. How will they want them to change that generation? And the teacher was giving me a very interesting story that before joining Dignitars, they thought teaching is about standing in front of class and teach. And she told me, if that was teaching, then every teacher will be a great teacher. So I asked her, why do you say so? She gave me a very interesting twist. She told me, any day she wakes up to get to a school and she meets learners who are happy to be with her, learners who are excited to be in her class, she feels so good. So I told her, what do you do then? I say that I ensure that because these learners are happy to be in my school, they are happy to be in my class, I have to ensure that I do my best. So that's changing in mindset of seeing the impact of what you do is a game changer. So by so doing, teachers are able to appreciate why is it important for me to prepare a lesson plan, for example. So they do it gladly. They do it without any push because they understand it's not about the CSO, it's not about the head teacher, it's not about the coach coming into the class, but it's about the learners they are changing.
I'd like to hear the experience of Teacher Juliet and Teacher Nicholas around this mindset shift that you're talking about. How do we then, like you have alluded to, the issue of cascading? So what has really worked in your context around sharing these lessons with your colleagues? Give us one practical example. And Mr. Nicholas, I'll take it to you in terms of, as a school leader, how do you then, from the lessons you're learning in your exercise of, coaching of teachers, how do we then tie this to connect also with the issues of parents, for example? How do we engage our parents in how we learn, in how we teach as part of our repertoire of mindset shifting? So first with Juliet, and then we will speak to Nicholas. I kindly request that you mute so that we'll be able to get the benefits of the conversations that are ongoing. Teacher Juliet, over to you.
All right. One of the practical things we've done is to, again, like I mentioned, have PLCs where we talk about maybe an issue at a time. For example, if we are talking about differentiated instructions and we are looking at how to reach every learner, we have forums where we discuss that and the different aspects of that within the PLC. And we actually go ahead to model it to each other, what a classroom setup would be like, and some other teachers will be learners, will behave like different learners, so it's enjoyable in the process. It's not a very dictatorial, so to say. It's the process of even cascading down the information is very enjoyable. And then when we now after that meeting, we also do lesson observations for each other. One of the ways I have learned to do that, and I learned this earlier on from Teacher Nick, while I was still in the academy, was to invite the teachers to actually come and observe me, first, before I actually go and observe them. That's why it's exciting for them. They do not see me getting nervous, while they're observing me. And then even the way we give them feedback, it's not just about telling them what they've done wrong. We point out several aspects of what they've done right, and then give 2 or 3 things at most that need to be improved on. That way we are changing the way we have been doing it, and the mindsets keep growing, and teachers will now become open to learning more and to collaborating together to become better.
Wonderful. Over to you, Teacher Nicola. What are those practical things that have worked, and how do you address the issue of walking this journey with parents? What are the skill sets that teachers require to be able to do that, and how have you created them in your school in very few minutes?
Thank you, June. It is disastrous of us as educators to imagine that parents would not be involved in the learning process of their learners. And so it is important as school leaders to really bring parents on board. And one of the things that I've done is whoever imagined that a parent would observe a lesson. Today, if you listen to Juliet speaking, it is teachers observing lessons. But then we are teaching people's children. Can we allow our environment, the classroom environment, to be friendly to even that parent who would want to see how are my learners learning in the course of the day? That has worked for me somewhere. When I actually invited parents who had time and told them, come and see how we learn. Because in the CBC, it's not about just the knowledge, it's about skill. When you involve parents, you'll be able to invite them as resource persons into the classrooms. Because then the knowledge today, the information we are giving out, the teaching process involves the three persons, the parent, the pupil, the teacher. I have seen parents who walked in and have served as resource persons. We are struggling to teach career, and I have invited lawyers in my classrooms, and they have talked to the learners about law. And with that, the parents get to appreciate what the learners go through. They get to really participate in the learning process before we just ask them to bring materials to school. I think parents are annoyed with us because the only thing they relate with the CBC is the CBC teacher is this person who keeps on asking for resources. But we need to change that and tell them this CBC teacher is this teacher who invites you parents to participate in the learning process. See how they learn, be a resource person, and support them even at home. Julie.
Thank you so much. And I can hear a lot of reflecting around. So, Teacher Naomi, as we listening to the conversations and feeding off of your experience as a curriculum support officer, what do you think are those three key things, for example, that would make a star teacher in terms of their mindset, in terms of how they implement their teaching in class, how they make their learners engaged? What are the three things that really stand out for you or have stood out for you as you've been supporting teachers in low-cost communities? Very briefly.
Thank you, June. One, for a teacher to become a star teacher is the teacher should be able to prepare the professional document first, because those are the tools of trade. Even before you go to the classroom environment, the tools of trade must be ready. The other one is we should have a teacher who is able to communicate with the learners effectively, a teacher who is confidence, so that the learners can also be confident, and a teacher who is very passionate about the learners. That passion for the learners should be the key issue, so that the learner is eager to come to school on any day. There are so many other aspects of being a star teacher, which Dignitas has helped us actually to realize, especially when you come to community practice leadership and also relationship within the school, so that the star teacher can also relate well with the other teachers, the community, and the parents, and more so with the learners. Also with gender equality, the teacher should also take keynote of gender in the class. We are so biased against one gender, so this star teacher must also be gender sensitive, and also should join a community of practice, so that when they're doing things together, like lesson observation, it is well done during in peer, when we have peer observation, and this leads to joint practice development. Thank you so much, June.
Great. Thank you so much for those rich insights and what a star teacher is. Someone who creates an environment for their learners to be engaged, you're gender responsive, and we are also maximizing ourselves as resource persons within our communities. Simon, as we wrap this up and go into a very short Q&A session, tell us, what are those markers of a star teacher from your experience?
Thank you. I look at a star teacher in three ways. So one who inspires confidence among parents, among teachers, the fellow teachers, and also the learners. Number two, one who understands the impact of their work And lastly, one also will ensure that there's safety. So people feel like the environment that is created is really safe for everyone to feel home and learn. But all this is pegged on one important thing that I will sum up as a STAR teacher, that you must use data. Data is important in you to think about anything that you want to improve on, be it your own skill, be it your own knowledge, be it your attitude. There must be data that backs every decision that you make as as a STAR teacher, ranging from the classroom teacher when you're preparing the lesson plan. When you want to, teacher has talked about differentiated instruction. What data is it informing you to make decisions on what materials you want to use that will help learners of different abilities? So that's how I define a STAR teacher. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nicholas and Juliet, just one statement each. Speaking to yourselves personally. Teacher Juliet, what makes you a STAR teacher? And Nicholas, what makes you a STAR head teacher, as we go into the question and answer, where we will take Polycarp's question and just one other question. Thank you.
All right, top of my mind, a STAR teacher is one who literally knows that at the center of education is the learner. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nicholas.
A STAR head teacher is the teacher who creates an environment where learners learn, and they learn in the best and the most peaceful and the most friendly environment, and works with all the other teachers to achieve the objectives of the school.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so much. And I think this builds into the conversation that we're seeing in the chat box. But I like what you're sharing on the chat box around who a STAR teacher is. And thank you so much for sharing. Keep them coming. Keep your questions coming in as well. I will hand the Q&A session to Selina and Victoria for the next 2 minutes or so. Over to you, Selina and Victoria.
Thank you so much, June. Such a very informative conversation. So I've gone through the questions in the chat, and I think I'd want to ask this one question that may be affecting most schools, especially in urban schools. And now that we have Naomi to represent the public schools, how do we handle the teacher-student ratio when we have a really big class and the resources are very limited? How do we still ensure we are delivering even in that circumstance? So I think I will pass this to Naomi first, and then it will be good to hear from Nicholas and Juliet how they've handled that in their schools. What to you, Naomi?
Thank you. I think that one is a challenge where we have the ratio between the teacher and the learner being too large. But what we usually advise the teachers is when it comes to resources, they should improvise the ones and be innovative so that they're able to cater for every learner in that class. We understand some classes have learners over 60 against one teacher. We usually address these with our employer where need be, the class can be split into two, and we get more teachers, which at times is not forthcoming. But the key thing is here is the teacher has to take her learning seriously when it comes to large classes, because we understand the learners must be taught. They must be taught. Where we are able to assist, we do, but at times it's and you understand that. I don't know what else we can do now as curriculum support officers.
At the same time, Naomi, I can advise this way. Normally, when we are understaffed, like in our institution, what we normally do, and the pupils are a little bit that too much, we do what is called team teaching, whereby somebody sits behind to try and control the learners at the same time as you do the teaching. It works well with us, and I think it's a good idea if at all we can buy that, whereby we do team teaching, one behind, one in front. That is what we normally do here. Since we are few, the kids are many.
Thank you so much. And I can see a few additional comments on where people are saying they can use group work to deal with the issue of teacher-learner ratio. And we can also, I'm trying to find this other one. I think that was it, using group work so that you're able to deal with the issue of teacher-learner ratio. And I can see the comments. We're taking note. I will give room for just one final comment before I invite Mr. Steve Karithi to close. But I think for me, in terms of key takeaways in this session, is that the mindsets of a teacher or a school leader are extremely important in creating, the kind of star teacher that we've been envisioning throughout this discussion. And support systems are extremely important. From the head teacher, from the curriculum support officers, they go a long way in supporting teachers to be very efficient and innovative in their classrooms. Something else that has come out is that the use of data is important. And by data, we don't mean very complicated data sets, but really just understanding your learners, understanding the parents, and really drilling down on the fact that we are our own best resource, particularly when we come from low resource settings. You and I, the community at large, we are our own biggest resource. And how do you maximize that? For example, the insights given by Teacher Nicholas around using parents for lesson observations. I think those are very powerful ways to help our teachers improve on their practice. But more importantly, I think we've also seen the benefit of communities of practice, which is an almost no-cost way of really imparting teacher professional development within our communities, because it is those of us who have information who then, in a very structured way, share the knowledge down with our community. So at this point, I would like to invite Mr. Steve Karithi, the interim CEO of Dignitas, to give us closing remarks, but keep the comments on the chat box and we'll be happy to read through them and just internalize and share after the conversation today. Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Steve.
Thank you, June, and thank you to all the panelists. I think that was a very enlightening discussion. I'll share a quote by Albert Hubbard, and this is what he said, that the true teacher is the learner. And I think today has been a good time for each one of us to learn. I want to thank all the team members that were behind this webinar, all the work that you've done. Thank you. And most importantly, I want to thank all the teachers that have joined us from across the country. We are glad that we get to partner with you in this noble work to raise the next generation and to teach them. Thank you. Back to you, John.
Great. I think that marks, unfortunately, the end of the webinar. We would have loved to spend a lot more time here, but we're very mindful that you have taken time out of your busy days to be with us today, and we do not take that for granted. And one of our overarching behaviors and way of work at Dignitas is that we value time. And so thank you so much for joining us. We will keep your insights from the chat and we'll be able to share this hopefully post the webinar. But thank you so much for engaging. Thank you for talking with us on the chat. And we apologize that we were not able to have a longer Q&A session, but we take your feedback for the next webinar. And it's been a real pleasure you joining us today. Thank you so much to the panelists, Faith Bushi, our Strategy and Growth Director, Teacher Juliet, Teacher Nicholas, Madam Naomi, and Simon, our exceptional coach. Thank you all very much for being with us today. And we also thank the co-moderators who are helping us in the background. We appreciate all of you. And lastly, a very big thank you to our audience for joining us today. Thank you, Steve, for giving us that wonderful quote and for closing the session so aptly. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of your evening.